Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the zodiac sign Sagittarius and their health. And yes, it does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Well, anyway, people, first thing, as far as Sagittarius and their health, Sagittarians are often very robust, very rugged, and well built, and they usually are able to combat illness very well, and they do not really, as a general rule, get sick very often, and their recuperative and recovery powers can be very good as well. Sagittarius is often very expansive and optimistic, and I think a lot of this has to do with plays a role in their ability to combat illness as well, and whether even colds, and they have a very strong power of positive thinking. The thing about Sagittarius, though, look at in terms of their health, another thing is the fact that Sagittarius can be rather accident prone. I think them and Aries are probably the two most accident prone signs of the zodiac. Aries, it's more attributed to their impatience, and I think a lot of it with Sagittarius is that they could just be somewhat clumsy, or they're kind of looking. It's kind of like the going out the door syndrome without looking at the box that's in front of it, if you understand what I'm saying. Sagittarius is they're very forward thinking, and they don't always see what's in front of them. I think a lot of times in the very literal sense, they try to get to point B without really overcoming point A. So they could have their issues as far as accidents, and of course that could affect virtually any part of the body. And another thing about Sagittarius is the fact that they are, I mean, as far as their mental health, well, their mental health can strongly be impacted as far as being outside. Sagittarius often needs the outdoors a lot more than the average or any of the other signs, and I think this can play a role in their health. They don't like to be confined or tied in too much. This could lead to some kind of strong despondency or depression. So even though you don't really attribute that to a major health issue for Sagittarius, but it is something that they have to consider, I think, as far as mental health goes, because Sagittarius always likes to expand and go outside the box, so to speak, and they don't like to necessarily be indoors as a general rule for too long a duration. Now, another thing too about Sagittarius is that they're often very athletic, and they're about working out vigorously and exercising a lot, and this is imperative for Sagittarius to do in order to have that fit body and mind, as there can be a propensity to gain weight. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and even though they have a very large lust and appetite for life, and they can have a very large appetite, period. So they really need the exercise probably more than the other signs, because they can do that. I see Sagittarius as the heaviest sign of the zodiac, and this especially is very important for Sagittarius rising or Sagittarius ascendant, as this, of course, the ascendant is going to dominate the physical appearance in most cases. So anyway, some other things to look at as far as Sagittarius and body parts that are sensitive to, vulnerable to in adverse health issues. The thighs, Sagittarius can be susceptible to thigh fractures, thigh pain, and also the hips can be sensitive as well. I don't know how many of you know or remember a prolific football player. I think he did play baseball as well, Bo Jackson. His career ended with a devastating hip injury. I believe he had a hip replacement, and his sun sign is Sagittarius. Now, also, I believe a hip dysplasia is another possible concern for Sagittarius. General hip pain. I talked about the hip replacement before. Deformed hip joint. And another thing for Sagittarius as far as possible health concern can be the liver. They could be susceptible to liver disease, hepatitis A, B, and C. They can be liver failure. And another thing too, the hamstrings can be a very sensitive issue as well for Sagittarius and their health concerns. Pulled hamstring, for example. So, and another thing too to look at as far as Sagittarius and their health is that Taurus often falls on the sixth house cusp in the chart for Sagittarius, and as far as a solar or natal chart, and they could have issues connected with the throat, even some isolated cases, throat cancer, some neck pain, herniated perhaps disc in the neck, laryngitis, and just general issues with the throat and neck, just general neck pain perhaps. Now, and also being Taurus, that the fact that Taurus often does fall on the sixth house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Sagittarius. It could even be through working laboriously, even though Sagittarius does like to have their relaxation time. Sometimes, I mean, Taurus being on the sixth, I think, could indicate that at work they could actually really be putting a lot of energy into it. Sagittarius often has a lot of vitality, but sometimes they can overdo it in this department. I mean, you don't want to accuse someone being too overly exuberant in what they're doing or putting too much energy into things, but sometimes Sagittarius may actually do that. Now, as far as possible mental illnesses, well, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder. Sagittarius can be very restless and antsy like Gemini, and Sagittarius has that need to really, they don't like to be stagnant. Stagnation could be a dirty word for this sign. And also just general anxiety. Sagittarius is a mutable sign, so they can be susceptible to this. And anyway, another thing too is that I believe, like as far as liver goes, alcohol can cause some problems with that. So Sagittarius, as I stated before, can have a big lust for life, a big appetite, could succumb to overindulgence, and that could be alcohol at times as well. So they need to be careful because this could cause that liver damage. And as I stated before, liver can be a sensitive point for Sagittarius. It is one of the parts that correspond with the zodiac sign. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the zodiac sign Sagittarius and their health. And stay tuned next time where I'll be talking about the zodiac sign Capricorn and their health. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.